not approaching the TW extension, or are you actually in the Northgate Village Apartments now?
Well, I can tell you it's been a very, very dangerous and extremely fast pursuit. They've been chasing that van right there. Now,
Yes, that's exactly what he's doing. Hi, are you Googling the laws right now?
Henderson Police Department's SWAT team responded to the scene and set up a perimeter around the condominium.
Travel in and out of time zone.
And the 3 key rules for a criminal defense lawyer: always on time, impeccably dressed, and occasionally sober.
The yellow sports car up ahead won't stop. Then, something happens you might expect in a Spider-Man movie. Wraps around the tire of the fleeing vehicle and stops all forward motion.
Objection, action answered.
I mean, he leaps over the fucking bench.
No, the thing is, that's my property. You have no choice.
Actually, I do, because I found friggin' Xanax bars on your driver's seat. If you want to explain something, explain those.
Cops get very frustrated when you don't answer their questions.
Oh.
He's gonna go straight. There's a car right here. Got him.
All right, I'm going to excuse everyone. Mr. Brooks is being removed from the courtroom.
This is fucking hilarious. So he pulls out a joint in court.
Go, 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 go.
Turn on your stomach! Stop fighting us! Stop resisting!
The injury by the police, that may be a separate issue for you to file a civil suit.
Chris, just while he's doing that, talk to me. What were you running for again?
Warrant?
Warrants? A felony warrant, city warrants, what?
Felony warrant on Kansas.
Well, I'm pretty sure they ran you, and you don't have any warrants.
I don't.
No.
No warrants.
No. It's all that for nothing, right? No warrants, no nothing.
Yeah.
Police! A little farther back. A little more. Okay, go.
Not finna sit here and let you fix the trial because you don't want to tell the truth to the jury.
We're there, guys. Got eyes on.
I want to suck it. Yes, I think I would like to suck your dick. I don't think so.
I prefer not to.
I prefer not to, sir. See that? I love that.
So do you wish to say anything?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Yo is the theme of the day, it seems. Hello and welcome to the Defense Rests. I'm Jody, and welcome back. Welcome back to this Wednesday, the 14th of August. We're halfway through August already. And here in Melbourne, the blossoms are blossoming far too early. Way too early. But they are beautiful. They are beautiful. So, if you haven't been watching attentively, we are on day 3 of a catch-up recap of the first Treehouse murder trial with Franklin Tyrone Tucker that was in January of this year. Now, Tyrone Tucker was a pro se defendant, which means that he defended himself, and the trial ultimately led to a mistrial, and so he is now scheduled for his second trial, which starts the 9th of September this year, which is why we are recapping to refresh our memories and just to go over a lot of the testimonies and witnesses, because we've learned a lot since then. And if you haven't kept up with it, there is a playlist listed in the description of this video. You can watch the full updates between the last trial and now, so you can get up to speed, ready for the watching of the new trial, which we will be covering live in real time. And there will be a panel of us with Justice is a Process and alternate juror, myself and Bri-Bear. So we have a diverse panel that will be giving our opinions and explanations and answering questions, what have you, as the trial progresses in real time. So stay tuned for that. That'll be exciting. We all have different skills and knowledge bases, and we bring our own set of life experiences, and it should be really good fun. All right, so we are on day 3. We had day 1 Monday, day 2 yesterday. So yesterday we saw Danielle Malone, which took up most of the testimony for yesterday. And today, I'm sure Ty cross-examined her yesterday. So let's dive straight in, shall we? And see. Yes, you have lots and lots of skills, Gabby. And you'll be joining us too, don't you worry. Let's see who's on the cards for today. So this is in front of the previous judge, Judge Mark Jones. The judge will be Judge Morgan, who is a military-based judge. Oh, volume is up. Skip ahead a bit. Where are we? There we go. Hello. Hello, Mr. Jones.
Attempting to get the medical information about Miss Belmonte, and is en route. So this is troubling. It's an issue that I addressed with the defendant
what if I missed?
last
Let's go
time.
back.
Medical says my assistant the State versus Tucker.
He doesn't look very happy this morning, does he?
I see the prosecutors are here, but the defendant is not.
Oh dear. That's why the defendant is
my
not.
assistant said that he
Hi, Christine.
called about 3 minutes ago and says that he's at Lower Keys Medical Center attempting to get the medical information about Miss Belmonte.
Good morning, Regina. Good morning. Welcome.
And is en route. So this is troubling.
Mm.
It's an issue that I addressed with the defendant last time he was late.
You can't be doing research on court time.
Not much I can do at this point, other than, did you all receive the materials?
Well, I know something that we can do at this point. I think Mr. Tucker might be in a little bit of trouble.
Judge, we received a generalized list Saturday morning that did not narrow down. I think he listed, am I mistaken, David, like a 2-hour portion of the IA interview that he said he intends to use.
I don't think it's a secret.
Again, no specific area of the interview other than, I think it was a 1 or 2 hour block.
That is correct. And also on the 12th of, I want to say of this month, while we were in trial, he filed, I guess, some supplemental discovery that he intends to seek to use during his, I don't know what part of his case. I found out about it yesterday because I just happened to check the clerk's website. So I did file a motion to exclude that based on relevance. So I filed that motion this morning, but do I have a hard copy for the court?
Okay, well, we will address these things when Mr. Tucker appears.
Very well.
Would you, bailiffs, let me know when he arrives?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Let's skip ahead to when Mr. Tucker arrived. Oh, dear. That's full. We're at minute 37, 38. L. Oh.
I was at the hospital with Miss Bellamont.
38
I filed
minutes
an
late.
emergency motion because I may not be here to testify on Thursday. She may not be, not only not able, may not be able at all. I was there waiting for the primary physician. I called your office with about a half hour left before court. I could have made it here in time, left my number just so that I could get the advice from the court. But I tried to get.
Not so sure why that couldn't have been done over the 3-day weekend.
Because the primary care physician wasn't there, Your Honor. I mean, I have no say in his schedule. But I did go in this morning. He actually, last I checked, he was writing it after I left because he was with a patient. That's what I was waiting for. But he went ahead and wrote the letter that you required. And I also asked that he leave a contact so that Your Honor could go ahead and contact him directly. But her situation has apparently gotten critical. She may not be here till Thursday. Be here on Thursday or Friday when she would be potentially testifying. If Your Honor would look at the motion, it's explained in there.
Well, okay, that's not my first priority. I'm not sure what motion you're referring to. Well, what is the nature of the motion? What relief are you asking for?
Your Honor, that's exactly what I was just explaining. She's critical. She may not live.
But you explained your condition, but you didn't explain the relief that
No, the relief's in the motion, Your Honor. But what it is really all I'm trying to do is accelerate the Zoom hearing that we had planned, we talked about, and be able to hold it immediately today, as opposed to putting it off till Thursday or Friday.
I'm not going to address that right now. We'll get to it. Right now, I'm going to address what I said I was, and that is the discovery or the impeachment material.
Yes,
so, did you get the impeachment material that you were intending to use in order to provide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, State, have you received materials from the defendant?
Judge, we have the materials. Again, my objection is the defendant said any or all of this 2-hour-long IA interview. And again, I'm asking for what portion, what's the inconsistency he's going to impeach, and what portion of that interview is he going to use to impeach it?
Okay. So, Mr. Tucker?
Your Honor, it's impossible for me to say exactly everything I'm going to try and impeach when I haven't finished with my questioning yet. There's no way I could tell him that. I mean, if she doesn't say something inconsistent, then I can't use it. I mean, it's that simple. I can't exactly say all I'm going to use, but I did limit myself, which I don't think I had to, but I limited myself to those things that I gave to the state.
Well, it's most extraordinary that somebody would think that out of a couple hour, or however long it is, tape, that it would be virtually all potential impeachment. I mean, attorneys are expected to be able to provide the opposite side with as specific a notice as possible of what they intend to use or believe is impeachment. So
I did do that, Your Honor. I just didn't point to specifics in each testimony, which I don't think the state's going to do either.
So how would you gentlemen like to proceed? I mean, I remember speaking on Friday that you almost anticipated that I would have to view the entire thing. And so that's one of the reasons we're here and put the jurors off until 1 o'clock.
Yes, sir. Judge, let me just apprise the court. The defendant emailed us Saturday morning at noon, which was the deadline, and he said, I plan on using as follows: interview room tapes 1 and 2, IA tape multiple sections. And again, I would ask, we're not going to sit and play a 2-hour IA tape. So I would just ask for what what's the inconsistency and what portion of the IA tape. I mean, our witness is coming back in today. We're in the middle of cross-examination. We're going to pick up with where, where do we start? Is he going to try to impeach her right off the bat? Is he going to begin questioning her? Is there already something he feels that he has the right to impeach her on? I'm just not clear where we pick up from today.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Tucker,
Your Honor,
when the witness is coming, you have to be able to cue this up and present it. We're not going to have what we had on Friday. We're not going to. That's
no, I understand, Your Honor.
People back and forth and waiting anymore. So you have to be able to identify what it is you intend to use.
Your Honor, I have identified exactly what I intend to use, and the state should be well aware of all of that evidence since it came from them. So they should have already examined it. They should already know what is potential impeachment material. Just like they don't tell me exactly what they're going to use. They just tell me which exhibits they have.
Well, sir, simply because something's provided in discovery doesn't make it admissible, nor does it mean the state's committed it to memory, nor does it mean it constitutes valid impeachment material. So
I understand that, Your Honor, but I don't know what I'm going to use until I'm finished my questioning, Your Honor.
Okay, well, let's start with the first part. I mean, again, if I have to sit here and watch the whole thing, so be it. But we're not going to have a situation where these jurors are made to wait because
I have no problem with that, Your Honor. I have absolutely no problem with that. I have a flash drive that was part of the problem, is just the interface with the technology. I can't exactly plug my laptop in there. I found that out on Friday. Okay, so now that part I have no problem with. I also have no problem with using any of this impeachment material and definitely saying how I'm using it while I'm in the process of questioning the witness. I assume that is customary usually.
No,
right?
This is completely not customary.
No, I mean, it's customary to ask a question if she makes a misstatement, or if she for lack of a better word, lies, then that's.
We're still talking about Daniel Malone here, aren't we? Is that right, Brian? Yeah, because she hadn't. I think she got dismissed yesterday. I've slept since then.
That's when I bring out a tape.
Okay, well, again,
I thought so. Yeah.
I got it. What else are we going to do other than to see the thing? And so that's what we're here for. So let's.
I mean, if you would like an example, I could give you one.
No, I don't want a kind of sort of maybe. I want to see this and make rulings, because otherwise I don't see where we've made 1 inch of progress from.
So he should have had a list of what she testified to as a prior statement, and then what he thinks she's said previously that is inconsistent to that statement in her testimony. That's what he's trying to do. Yes. So he should have had them listed as to what she testified to and what the inconsistencies were previously, which is what impeaching is. Is that correct? My brain's scientific, not legal, right? Ask me about the heart and how it works.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
While I am not an attorney, and we've all made that clear, the thing is okay, the state is not going to tell me anything of any of the evidence that they plan on bringing in until they bring it in, right? They give it to me the same way. They give it to me in bulk, and I have to go through it and decide what I think they're going to use. Well, I imagine they're the same way.
No, sir. Have you ever seen a prosecutor in 27 plus years of doing this that doesn't have a very clear idea and presents it clearly? Yeah, sometimes there might be some little snippet or something, but not where there's apparently hours of tapes that they are using, frankly, very inartfully.
Okay, I'll tell you exactly one that I plan on using, and it's the hours-long tapes that they're talking about. There's 2 of them, the interview room tapes. Mm-hmm. Those I'm using to impeach the fact that she said specifically that I wasn't named a suspect till the 22nd, And I was named a suspect because of the testimony of John Travis Johnson and Rory Wilson. Those 2 hours worth of tapes, that's all they're discussing is me being a suspect.
We're not going to have that. I mean, you can show me, but we're not going to have 2 hours worth of tapes that somehow or other impeaches a minor point. So
no, and I would actually fast forward. I do have the timestamps. I can fast forward to each section that applies to that witness.
Okay, well, let's do it then.
Well, Your Honor, if I might, I'm definitely willing to do that. I'd still like to address the other issue.
I'm not going to address it. I will address it when I'm ready to address it.
No, I was just.
This session, Mr. Tucker, you're starting to stray from the basic parameters here. I set this session for this issue, and that's what I'm going to deal with. And if Ms. Belmonte is unable to, we will deal with it, but if she's unable to testify, then we have these deposition to preserve testimony. But one way or the other, I will deal with this once I deal with the issue that I've set.
Okay,
so
I'll tell you what, I'll just play the tapes.
And this, people, is why you don't defend yourself. You can literally visualize the thought bubble above his head. Oh, morning, AJ. Hello, darling. How you doing? Mwah. I hope you're starting to feel a little bit better. Thinking of you. All right, let's fast forward this a little bit. Whilst Mr. Tucker pulls his finger out, basically. So Judge Jones was getting snarky with him because he'd organised this morning session to go through these IA reports and the impeachment material for Daniel Malone, and Ty turns up 40 minutes late and wants to know information about bringing Paula Belmont's testimony forward because she's not well. Oh. Yes, I think we all are, Christine. Do you miss us, AJ? Just a little bit? A little bit?
You must miss us just a little bit.
So I don't no, I don't operate that equipment. You're saying that you need the assistance
halfway is better than no way.
Terry, is that what you're saying?
Actually, I would ask for it only because I don't want to mess with her.
Let's see if he's here.
I just don't want to take a chance on
All right, let's keep going. We're an hour into court and we've achieved jack diddly squat.
Sir, you don't need to placate me. Just do the business. I'm tired of all the extra fluff. Do what you claim you're going to do. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to. So, which you should have had arranged. Again, if an attorney did this, it wouldn't even be close. I wouldn't have put up with it. I'm bending over backwards to try to facilitate you who doesn't really know what you're doing, and that's not a surprise, but you have the right to represent yourself, but you don't have a right to delay things or to attempt to...
That hurts, Bri. I bet you're saying the same words that Ty's thinking right now.
You can attempt to, but to admit things that aren't admissible. So in any event, this gentleman now needs one more time some assistance in operating the equipment. So could you give him a hand, please?
It's a little bit degrading from the judge there. Yeah. Well,
This is the IA. There are a couple of sections.
oh, it's we have a tail. Hello,
I'm
Clumsy.
sorry, I can't. Could you pause? What is
Get out of the way. Clumsy. Thank you.
No, apparently the court reporter has a question. What?
I just wanted to know if it was a video or an audio.
This one is audio only. Actually, all the other ones are video, but it's only audio. You see a blank, what's like a interrogation. So yes, they're all audio. Be specific. Okay.
This interview is being conducted at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. It's the Sheriff's Conference Room.
Yeah.
It's taking place at May 8th, 2020 at approximately 1 p.m. I'm trying to close my email. Just give me 1 second. So just give me 1 minute. Sorry. No problem.
Good. Please tell me when you get to the part that you want to use, because all of this would not be. No, I don't.
In regard to what's commonly known as commonly known as the Treehouse murder, that took place on November 17th, 2017. And the investigation in regard to the management and handling of the.
Hey, Grandma. Welcome.
All that
Morning,
stuff is
morning.
completely inadmissible.
Esquire, who's a representative.
You haven't missed anything.
In the case of Franklin Tyrone Tucker.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
My name is Danielle, DANIELLE Malone, MALONE.
The gang says hello, Grandma.
And what is your first rank and do you sign it?
I'm currently assigned dispatch as a communications officer.
Okay, and this interview is being recorded with your full knowledge?
Yes.
Also present at this time is Inspector Donnie Marius, Monroe County Sheriff's Office, Internal Records. And ma'am, if you could introduce yourself, please. Thank you. Okay.
Younger male that was much skinnier than
Sunglasses in court, Tyrone.
that we were before.
And of course, you want to call 911.
Yes.
Okay. So eventually, Franklin Tucker was identified as a suspect.
Yes.
How did that come? How did he get on the radar?
Well, his name first came up was when he put the Metro PCS name, just because he was with Rory. And then he was.
It is not.
Me too, Brian.
That's all hearsay.
Voice
Well,
to text.
I understand, but this is apparently the first part that he actually wants to use, where she said his name first came up with the Metro PCS stuff, and I could have swore she testified.
Exactly what she testified to.
She testified that I became a suspect because of Roy Wilson's testimony and Travis Johnson's testimony. I just went through it the other day.
Sir, she testified to that. That is not impeachment.
If I'm wrong, Your Honor, then I'm wrong.
It's not impeachment. That she said that.
Also living with Rory. suspect.
If you guys want to sit over here in the jury box or wherever.
Honestly, his interview and John Travis Johnson's interview.
His interview, being Tucker.
Yeah, being Tucker.
How did that?
Well, some of the things like that he said that they all used, I believe they all used John Travis Johnson as they were with him going to buy cigarettes at some point during that night. So they linked themselves. All of them linked them.
That also brings up my point. I haven't asked some of these questions yet either. Right? So I don't know if I'm going to be able to use this yet or not. But now I'm playing for the state. They could have, again, talked to the witness, whatever. But I mean, if they know what if they know what potential of impeachment material, I'm going to use our exact impeachment material.
And again, I'm familiar with this interview. I understand what you're saying. My specific question is, what is the inconsistency that he claims she said on the stand, and what portion is he going to use to rebut? That's my only question.
Can I say what her answers are going to be to my questions? No. So how do I tell you?
When we broke on Friday, Judge, we were right in the middle of, he was attempting to impeach her.
One question. Right? One. Not all. One.
Well, okay, in any event, you know.
Sure, I can keep playing if you want. It's just, again, the witness isn't here. You can keep going if you want.
Themselves together, and they're trying to distance themselves from the crime.
Did the video, I know you mentioned video from the motorcycle place, or any other video establish the identities of your suspects?
Yes, the video from the Marine place. I don't have to look now, I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's right next door to
Cosby's Marine.
Okay, that'd be it.
Yeah.
It's right next door to the Treehouse. When we finally got access to that, we could see on the video a dark colored truck circle the Treehouse. Then there's a break, and then the dark colored truck comes back, parks almost right in front of Cosby's, whatever, the Marine place. And you can see two people walking away from the truck, and based on the way the one subject was walking and everything about him is built because of how big he was, that was going to be Detroit. And then the other one, his body type and everything matched.
Can't tell that from that video.
Franklin Tyrone Tucker.
So, I'm sorry, we can't speak over one another. I'm asking, where's the impeachment? If that's supposed to be impeachment.
This is an hour long, maybe an hour long. Hold on. I can tell you in a second. This is how long tape. She actually has asked about this more than once. And okay, just in this one alone, she says, yes, this verifies it, because this tape verifies this, which we established at length on Friday. No, it doesn't.
And she said as much. She said.
She did eventually.
We stopped the tape right where she says, Travis Johnson, what we see in the video matches up with what Travis Johnson told him.
She readily acknowledged that she can't see faces. She puts things together. This is a piece of the puzzle, sir. So if you think that, Mr. Tucker, once again, you are deteriorating into interrupting. She doesn't say she can now see the faces. She is putting the evidence together. So there's no impeachment there. Yes, sir.
I don't need to interrupt.
Well, you do constantly. But we take our turns, and you don't seem to get that. We talk one at a time because it's polite, it's a way to communicate, and it's the way the court reporter can get the information in the record. So in any event. Okay, sir.
But it doesn't feel like you're listening to me.
Oh, I'm listening very much. It doesn't feel like you're listening to me, but be that as it may, that ain't impeachment.
No, so far it's not. You're correct, Your Honor. But I also said, there is additional in this statement. It's not the only time they bring this up.
Well, okay, let's hear it.
All right, you're
because
flogging
I
a dead horse there,
trying
Tom.
to avoid the jury being, delayed.
I understand.
All right. Let's go to when they bring the jury in, shall we? Because this argument goes round and round and round and round the mulberry bush. And, oh lordy, it's going to make today a short day, isn't it? We might have to. Holy crap, holy.
There's a video.
They don't come back until 4 hours into the. Wow, okay.
Afternoon.
And now we have a grumpy judge.
Franklin Tucker.
Did you hear that? Listen.
1841.
The way he says his name. Have a listen.
Versus Franklin Tucker.
Franklin Tucker.
17841. We have prosecutors, defendant, court personnel.
Oh dear.
I think the witness is back there. What about the
I
jurors?
might cover
Are they
2 days
here?
on today, I think. It's only an hour of court.
Okay, so unless there's something else.
Oh, I don't know. There looks to be one right
Wait, what is it?
We would
in
ask
front of the court
to
reporter.
require that the microphone stays on the podium. And if Mr. Tucker needs to talk on the microphone, it's on the podium. It's very distracting when he grabs the mic and wanders around the courtroom. I think it looks cavalier and it's improper.
Keep that distracting, Mr. Mansfield.
It's not
You
being
poor
right,
love.
it's the trial. So we're asking for that, and we're asking for any kind of, apologizing to the jury for this and apologizing to the jury. I think it's pandering to the jury at this point. I think we just need to move on with the actual case.
Does the defendant want to
He's being
respond to
polite as
those
well.
concerns?
Oh,
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
must be terrible.
And
Terrible to be you.
I understand the prosecution's
Probably got
frustration
chafing and
if
all
I do
sorts in that
approach
Florida
the
heat
table
down there.
where I approach the prosecutors, and I shouldn't have the microphone in my hand. I noticed I did that. I ran back later. I did do that at one point. I shouldn't be doing that. That is correct. But you yourself, Your Honor, told me to grab the microphone when I was up at the screen, and I would suggest that I'd still be allowed to do that. That way, the jury can still hear me when I'm up at the screen. As far as the apologies, I just happen to be a polite person. I try to be, and if you would like me to curb my apologies, I can try to do that as well.
All right, thank you. I believe that the reason that Mr. Tucker was invited to use the handheld was because he's soft-spoken. And this helps.
Yeah, but he doesn't actually hold the microphone up to his mouth. If you notice, he holds it down around his waist and still talks and uses his other hand. So it's not as effective as it could be, unfortunately.
Get him on the record. Am I speaking correctly there, Monica? Yes, she's nodding her head affirmatively. So I believe
So we still don't have the jury in.
Not going to
Oh Lord.
Order him not to use the hand.
L.
All
right, they're standing. They must be on their way back in. "45 minutes left of court time today. Woohoo! Must be time for M&Ms.
You all can be seated if you care to.
All jurors present in the courtroom, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please Please be seated, everyone. Good afternoon, folks. I guess you all got the phone message after I told you to be here at 9:15 on Tuesday morning. Then something came up, and it seemed like that would be a situation where if you showed up at 9:15 this morning, you've been in a wait mode again. So I made a decision that it would be preferable just to try to get you a phone message and reset things at 1 o'clock. So thank you very much for your flexibility with that. Again, I try my best to be mindful of your time, try my best to assess how things are going and deal with the situation as the case goes. As I mentioned before, logistics and unexpected things occur in virtually every case. So we're big picture, we're on schedule. I talked about last Monday when we had our first qualifications, the time period we had. So big picture, we're still on schedule, and thank you very much for being flexible. We all really appreciate it. But we're back here on the record in State versus Franklin Tucker, 17-841. Where we left off was the continued testimony of Danielle Malone. She's here, so if you'd please come forward, ma'am. Step right up to the witness stand.
Whoa.
You can have a
Holy
seat.
Elvis. Paisley Elvis.
So I remind you, you're still under oath. That still carries over.
Hanging my
since the
glasses
beginning of your
there, Danielle.
testimony. And we're still in the midst of the defendant's cross-examination, so Mr. Tucker can proceed.
May I?
Yes.
Now, Brian, have you got a matching suit outfit that you can do a quick wardrobe change for us?
Your Honor, do you mind if I move the podium a little bit closer to the witness?
No, it's okay.
Thank you.
I do believe it may be home sewn.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to try and make this as quick as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Said that before.
Ms. Malone, you testified that you were charged with handling the collection of video evidence. Is that correct? some video evidence in the case.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you were put in charge of collecting that, right, from different places.
I was asked, yes, sir.
Okay, and I remember one of them was at CVS. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Okay, good. What about Tom Thumb? Were you charged with collecting video from Tom Thumb?
No.
Okay. And do you know if there was video ever collected from Tom Thumb?
I picked up a CD from Tom Thumb that was requested by another deputy or detective.
I may be confused here. You just said you weren't in charge of collecting video from Tom Thumb, and then you collected a CD from Tom Thumb?
Yes, the detective that was supposed to retrieve the video wasn't ready on time. They asked me to pick up what they had requested.
Okay, so you were put in charge of collecting a video from Tom Thumb.
I was asked to pick it up. I wasn't in charge of it.
Okay, maybe it might be semantics. It may be just the way I'm asking you. I'm sorry. Okay, so you did pick up a CD from Tom Thumb. Did you ever view the CD that you got from Tom Thumb?
No.
Okay. And Is that the only ones that you did, CVS and TomTom?
I believe so, yes.
All right, and you never reviewed Tom. How about the CVS? Did you ever review the CVS video, the videotapes from CVS?
Yes.
Okay, and was there anything of evidentiary value on those CDs?
No.
And why was that, Danielle?
And let's see.
Because you asked for the wrong date.
Okay, and did you? Yeah, I know we talked about some of your tasks that you had in the days after the crime. Were you ever tasked with photoshopping a lineup picture of me?
I was tasked with preparing a photo lineup, yes.
And what would that preparation entail?
Going through all the mugshots that we had in the MCSO database and finding 6 pictures of subjects that have the same characteristics, same race, male, female, we try to get like the same type of shirt, same background, same size picture of their face. So no one photo stands out from another photo.
But it was you never altered any of the photos at all?
I did not.
Okay. Do you know if any of them were?
Yes.
And was that a yes, or a yes, they were altered?
Yes, somebody photoshopped them.
Okay, just check. Okay, so do you know if those photos were ever used for a lineup?
I believe so, but I had no part in that photo lineup.
You had no part in that one. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
So who did?
Let's see.
Ask her who did. Who photoshopped it?
As far as your other collection of evidence, I think we went over that. You were only there for the knife. Is that correct? You were there for the collection of the knife.
I was not there for the collection of the knife.
See. That's where I must have misheard. Were you there for the collection of any other evidence in this case?
I mean, I didn't take part of any real collection of evidence that was used in this case. I was there like on the scene the night that crime scene processed. I was there the day that the mask was found in the boat, but I personally didn't take any part in collecting that evidence.
Okay, none of that evidence. What about Paula's backpack?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you were there, or yes, you collected it?
Yes, I collected it.
Okay. And approximately, I don't expect, I know it's been a long time. Approximately how long was that after the crime?
I believe it was December 7th.
And where was that evidence collected from?
It was in Big Pine.
Okay. And was there any explanation as to how it got to Big Pine?
It was at a house that John Travis Johnson, the getaway driver, was working at after.
It was a house John Travis Johnson was working at.
Right. Okay. So we have some physical evidence of Paula Belmont's backpack being located at a place where John Travis Johnson is currently working. So we have something physical that we can tie John Travis Johnson to the victim. Why aren't we pushing this tie? She's opened the door now. We need to focus on that and really bulk that up and make a big deal out of it, because that ties him directly to the scene. And that, my dear friend, creates doubt.
Yes.
Okay. And did John Travis Johnson ever explain how that got there?
I don't know. I'm sure he did, but I wasn't part of that interview.
Okay. Just asking. Okay. And how did that come to be found? How did they find her backpack there?
The homeowner went to go change the air filter in her air conditioner, and in the air conditioner closet, she saw the backpack in the back of that closet underneath the air handler.
Okay, just to be clear, was it in the air vent, or was it in the closet, or was it in the back? I mean, where was it actually located?
So she had central air, so she had the big AC air handler that had its own.
Why haven't they made a bigger deal of this? This is material evidence that connects the two, connects the dots.
Like utility closet. It was raised up a little bit on like legs, so it wasn't sitting flush with the floor. And it was underneath that, and that I would, not really a closet, it's like the air handler storage space.
So it wasn't out in the open though?
No, it was up behind a closed door.
Okay, and up underneath because again, I'm trying to picture this, but up underneath the vent.
Not really a vent, but underneath the air handler, like the actual AC.
Oh, the AC unit itself?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so it was up underneath the AC?
Yes.
Okay. And you said it was found by the homeowner?
Yes.
Okay. And how did they know it was Paul's backpack?
I believe they opened it.
Okay. And, from, I guess I'm still trying to picture it here. They opened it. How did that make it Paula's backpack when they opened it?
If I recall correctly, Paula's EBT card.
Yes, but they're trying to hinder any of John Travis Johnson's previous testimony coming in for this second trial. So I'm thinking of how we can use what we've got, which we've got Danielle Malone, who will be testifying at this next trial, and bring it in through her and focus on her testifying about this backpack. And, okay, so this backpack was found where? And it was at a place of employment that John Travis Johnson worked, correct? Yes. Did you test it for DNA? Was any of my DNA on there? No. You identified it as Paula's? Yes. Okay, so obviously he must have been at that crime scene.
Was inside the backpack with her name on it.
Paula's EBT card?
Yes.
And that was all taken into evidence?
It was taken into property, yes.
Okay, and
So
you took it
now,
from Big
where's his credibility at? Oh, I just happened to have a backpack of the victims, but no, it wasn't me. I wasn't there, sir. Sorry. It was him.
I'm back to headquarters?
I don't believe so. I don't believe that's where I took it.
Okay, and where did you take it?
I probably took it to the special operations building in Marathon, where Major Crimes main office was.
The Major Crimes main office? Okay.
Yes.
And was it then put into some kind of lockup or security, secured area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And immediately afterwards, or was that longer?
It was secured in my possession the entire time.
Secured in your
Did you notice that she put that up when we did our dual stream, and then she must have forgotten to take it down for the next stream she did for the sentencing because it was still up there. I did laugh.
possession?
Yes, sir.
Is that against MCSO policy?
It is against their standard practices. Yes.
Okay. And did you have a sustained IA complaint anytime during this investigation?
Objection relevance.
Oh, that was quick. That was quick, Mr. Alvarez. Saw that one coming, didn't you?
Considering this specific piece of evidence was, you just said it was outside of MCSO policy. Were you ever reprimanded for?
Objection relevance. I'll overrule that objection.
I'll overrule
as to this particular piece of evidence.
I'm sorry. Could you?
Yes, I can repeat. Were you ever reprimanded for this specific piece of evidence for mishandling it?
Yes.
Okay.
What, you had to think about that?
So, and that is the only other piece of evidence that you took into possession, correct?
It was property, and no, that's not the only property that I took into my possession during the course of the case.
Okay. What other pieces of evidence, property? I don't know whether the term to be specific, but would it be any other evidence, any other property that you took possession of?
I took possession
Good morning,
of
Carmen.
items that
Hello.
was in John Travis Johnson's
Welcome.
truck after the search warrant.
Lovely to
What would
see
those
you.
be?
It was a fairly long list, but it would be a digital scale that had marijuana residue on it, some marijuana pipes, I believe. There was,
It's called a bong. Bong, ba bong, bong, bong.
I think it all had to do with drug paraphernalia.
Mostly drug paraphernalia.
Yes, sir.
How about knives? Did you take any knives?
No, that would have all been done by crime scene.
Oh, by crime scene. Okay. Let's back up for just a second because I want to make sure I'm correct here. You were there for the search of the truck, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is that when you took these drug paraphernalia? Is that when you took that into possession?
Yes, sir.
And crime scene would have taken the other items into possession at that time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what did you do with the drug paraphernalia once you took that into possession?
I stashed
Placed
it.
it into our
You're gonna make me
property division for destruction.
For destruction. Okay, that makes sense. Now, when you did that, was there any time lapse there? I mean, did you take it right there, or was it again in your possession for longer?
It was in my possession for a day or so before it got placed into the evidence locker.
Okay, and were you ever reprimanded for that?
Yes.
And let's see. Now we've gone over the items from the truck. Is there anything else?
I don't believe so, not that I recall.
Okay, so no more property, no more evidence.
I don't believe so.
Okay, and I think we pretty much cleared up the videos too, correct? That there was CVS,
Oh,
it
Lord.
was
Oh,
Tom
sorry.
Thumb, and that would be it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, and you said you didn't know what happened to the photo lineup. The photo lineup that you arranged.
Correct.
Okay. And let's see. Is there anything else that you did as far as the collection of evidence or photo lineups? Anything we haven't discussed?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. All right. And I think here, sure we're on point here. I think I'd like to subject this witness to recall, if that's okay. And I think I'll end my question.
No worries, Brian.
I'm
Step
sorry,
safely.
you said you're complete with cross at this point?
I'm complete with cross at this point, Your Honor, but I would like to subject the witness to recall.
Okay, well, so, thank you. State have redirect examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Malone, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice to see you again. I'm going to go over some points that the defendant in this case brought up with you. I'd like to start off with Anathea Clay. Do you remember the questions that he asked you about?
Yes, sir.
And I think he referred to Ms. Clay as a suspect, a murder suspect. Do you remember him referring to her that way?
Yes, sir.
Okay, was she, during the course of your investigation, did she ever rise to the level of a murder suspect?
No, sir.
And would that be because perhaps she didn't have enough corroborating evidence?
Yes, sir.
No, it was
Was
because
she ever
she was
placed
a
at the scene of the
confidential
crime?
informant.
No, sir.
Okay, and you know that because you had conversations with other individuals that were involved with the crime, correct?
Correct.
And defendant asked you about what other evidence, if any, that you had in your probable cause affidavit. Do you remember those questions?
I do.
Did you have other areas of resources of information that helped you corroborate your investigation?
Yes.
And the defendant specifically asked you whether you had a conversation with Mr. Rory Wilson. Is that correct?
Correct.
And in that conversation with Mr.
Apparently, yes. Apparently, she disappeared, but according to her, she was there all the time. They just didn't look very hard for her.
Wilson.
Okay, I think we better approach the bench here.
And if you'd go onto Ty's YouTube, her interview with Penny Phelps, they she doesn't want it recorded, so they don't record it audio because she is an informant. All right. L. Sidebar.
Conversation with defendant Wilson in this case. My question to you, ma'am, is based on your conversation with him, did he corroborate your investigation in this case?
Yes.
Okay, same set of questions. Did you eventually or partake in a conversation or a debriefing with defendant Travis Johnson in this case?
Yes.
And without getting into the specific details of that conversation, did he corroborate your investigation in this case?
Absolutely.
Yes, because he was fed the information by Captain Penny Phelps. This is proven in the deposition by Detective Matthew Pritchard.
Hey, did you have anybody else that you spoke to in this case?
No.
I spoke with Miss Paula Belmonte.
Okay, and when did you speak to her?
At the hospital the day of the murder.
Okay. And based on your conversation with her, did she corroborate your investigation?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Notice how he kept
Now,
that very broad,
the defendant asked you
the
a series of
investigation.
questions related to your transfer. That transfer was not a demotion, correct?
Correct.
That transfer was not because you were reprimanded in any shape, fashion, or form, correct?
Correct.
Did you request that transfer?
I did not request the leaving of major crimes, but I did request the leaving of law enforcement.
And can you explain for the jury why you did that?
Well, during that time, there was a lot of things that were going on, not just at work, but in my personal life as well. My husband of a lot of years had, in July of 2019, had surgery on his neck. And it was the third surgery that he has had on his neck.
Mm-hmm.
He was not recovering well. He had partial spinal cord damage, was having a very hard time
Objection,
walking
relevance.
without assistance. In a loving way, I'd tease him and say that he was like my little baby deer, because we lived on Key Deer, and when deer have a hard time walking when they're first born, real unbalanced and unsteady. That's what he was going through at the time. In hindsight, I should have taken FMLA. I should have taken the time off. I should have been there to take care of my husband. But I thought I was superwoman and I could do all of that. And obviously that wasn't the case.
I appreciate your honesty. I'd like to turn your attention now to the questions that Mr. Tucker, the defendant in this case, asked you about the photo lineup. He asked you if in fact the photo lineup was photoshopped.
Yes, sir.
Is that standard procedure? Is that something that's normally done in these types of cases?
Typically, no. But at that time, we only had one picture of Mr. Tucker, and he was wearing a hoodie in that photo. And we had no other photos of anybody in our system that had a hood on the back that matched height, weight, age, and the physical descriptors.
So in an attempt to make the photo lineup fair,
Yep.
that's why you and the sheriff's department decided to Photoshop.
Objection, Your Honor, this is leading.
Cross-examination, it's okay, so I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes, sir. We were trying to make it as completely fair and where nobody in that photo lineup stood out in any way, shape, or form because of something like clothing or, you know, like if you take a picture too close to somebody, their face looks really big, or if they're far away, we painstakingly made sure that.
And who did Mr. Todd O'Quinn pick from that photoshopped photo lineup? Danielle? Who was it? Was it Tyrone Tucker? No, sir, it wasn't. It was John Chavis Johnson.
All the pictures were the same, and even to the point of making sure that they all had on dark colored shirts and there wasn't somebody wearing a white shirt and somebody wearing a black shirt. We painstakingly made sure that all the photos wouldn't have anything that stood out from anybody else.
And I apologize, I had one other question to ask you about Miss Anathea Clay. Do you know where she's at today?
I believe she is deceased. Actually, I know she's deceased.
Now, the defendant in this case asked you if you were reprimanded for the mishandling of some evidence in this case. Do you remember those questions?
Yes, sir.
Is it your testimony here today that you altered or concealed or destroyed any of that evidence?
No.
A lot of questions about the Cosme videos during your
Oh, I'll skip over that bit, Alvarez.
direct examination and cross-examination.
Yes, sir.
Now, is it you're not telling this jury that you can specifically identify anyone in those videos?
Correct. You can't see people's faces in that video, and you can't really see if they're black or white or Asian or Hispanic. You could see subjects. You can kind of, based on body shape, body size, get an idea if they're thin, if they're extremely tall, if they're heavy.
After your interviews in this case and based on the totality of the circumstances, did the figures in those Cosme videos match the general descriptions of the suspects that you had in this case?
General
Absolutely.
description.
What, Travis Johnson
absolute-
told us in his confession, after what Roger Ruggett told us in his interview about what happened, how many people there were, the physical descriptors of who was there based on Paula's absolute identification of the gentleman
Detroit.
that she knew by the street name of Detroit, who was later learned to be Rory Wilson, based on Todd O'Quinn in his initial interview gave a detailed description of the sequence of events that lined up with the Cosme video, as far as when they saw one person running, and then when the time delay for the second person running, that he was going up the hill.
So why didn't Ty jump in again and focus on that? She's brought Todd O'Quinn's statement in. She's brought it in.
You don't have to get into all that detail to answer the question, please.
Yes, sir, sorry.
So, but you can continue with your answer. I'm just saying that it didn't call for recitation of some of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll move on. You indicated you spoke to Ms. Belmonte, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was she able to identify her attackers?
She was absolutely able to identify Detroit, Rory Wilson.
What about the second attacker?
No,
Was she sure about that?
she was absolutely positive she could not see the second person.
And based on, did you ever have a chance to speak to a person by the name of April Walker?
Yes,
And without telling me the nature of your conversation with her, based on your conversation, though, was she able to corroborate your investigation and the conclusions you had based upon that investigation?
yes.
Judge, may I have a moment?
Yes.
The conversations you had with other individuals that were involved in this case, did you come to a conclusion that you had enough evidence to charge this defendant with robbery and murder?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have no further.
No, you didn't. You were tasked with the arrest
Ask
warrant.
if we can approach the bench here, please.
It was Penny Phelps and Colleen Dunn that insisted on the arrest affidavit, whereas Detective Pritchard did not believe they had enough and was against it. So they went to Danielle Malone. to write the arrest warrant behind his back. Oh, what are you smiling at? Hmm? Hmm.
You go in the jury room for a bit, please. Appreciate your cooperation.
Right, the jury are leaving again.
So we don't have any confusion if the need arises. So he suggested an email, or is there a work number? How would you suggest he contact you in the event that you're going to be recalled?
My work number is manned 24/7 since it's a 911 center.
Mhm.
So he could call at any time and then they can reach out to me either via phone or sending a deputy to my house or whatever needs to be.
And will that work for you, Mr. Tucker?
I mean, it will, Your Honor. I just, in an overabundance of caution, to make sure that, again, there's no even illusion of impropriety. I still think an electronic message would probably be better.
Well, I'm not going to force her to give an email if she's disinclined to do so, unless it's a work email.
My work email is dmalone@keysso.net.
D with a period or not?
No period.
D.
D.
Witnesses can speak to attorneys for either side and about their
Witnesses last week that we never got to, so we thought we'd scale back, and our anticipation would be lucky to get her done this afternoon, so we didn't line any other witnesses up today.
Okay, so what about tomorrow?
We'll have a full slate of witnesses.
So it doesn't look like they've lined up any further witnesses.
On Thursday, I think, is realistic.
So then, Mr. Tucker, presumably, if you have witnesses you're going to call, you can kind of start to plan for Friday. If there's going to be some impeachment efforts as to Mr. Johnson in particular.
All right.
They finishing our case.
I think that's pretty much the end of day 3. Let's
move
on to day 4, I think.
Certainly don't take your time for granted.
That was a whole heap of waste of a day, I think, wasn't it? Now, let's see if we can find day 4. There we go. Yep. It's day 1. No. You want day 4?
State of any redirect examination?
Come on, Mr. Mouse.
No, sir.
All right. So is this witness subject to recall?
Open that up. What day is that?
All the details.
Day 3, we just watched
the reality of this.
What's that? Day 4. Woo! Good pick, Jody. Okay. Is Mr. Tucker going to be late today? Looks like it.
Morning. So.
Empty seat there.
The pattern appears to be continuing, despite my admonitions. So we can't very well get started at this point. So we will step down and await word of his arrival at some point in time. If I didn't know better, I'd swear you were doing it intentionally, sir.
Your Honor, if I didn't know better, I swear the universe hates me. No, I was going to be on time today, and I get into my Lyft ride. The lady doesn't speak English. I tell her to go over to the courthouse, drop me off in the front. She couldn't quite get it and dropped me off back here. So it took me a little bit longer than normal. And yesterday, like I said,
Yeah.
What they are, sir. What is it that you'd like me to address?
When we did the hearing on the motion to eliminate, there were a couple things that I addressed in my motion, and we addressed at the hearing. And I'm thinking they're becoming a problem at this point. I noticed that the prosecution has gone from calling me Mr. Tucker to the defendant constantly at this point, which again can be prejudicial. And
There's nothing wrong with them calling you the defendant, sir.
I understand.
You are the defendant.
I am.
Either one of those are interchangeable. They're not obliged to use either term. So
Well, I mean, except for it does kind of put an image into the jury's head, I would imagine.
Well, the accurate image. You are charged with these crimes. You are the defendant, and there is absolutely nothing untoward about them referring to you in that position. So as much as you may not like it, that's not
Your Honor.
Skip the whinge fest, shall we?
Contrary to one of these.
Whinge fest, clumsy? Yeah. Did you say hello?
Good morning. Welcome back to Courtroom B in the Freeman Justice Center. It's good to see you all here. Thank you for being on time. This is the case of the state of Florida versus Franklin Tucker, 17 CF 841. And where we left off when we were last in session was the presentation of the state's case in chief. And we're going to pick up where we left off. So, State, do you have your next witness to call?
Yes, sir, we do. The state calls Travis Johnson.
Ooh.
Travis Johnson.
Travis Johnson. Come on down.
Okay, sir, if you'd please come through the gate. Step right up in front of the witness stand there. That's good, right there. Turn, face the clerk, raise your right hand. No, the clerk. Right.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you will give in the cause now hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, have a seat on the witness stand.
Lawyer, pants on for you.
Please speak up loudly and clearly so everyone is able to hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can
Thank
proceed.
you, Judge. Thank you. Good morning, Travis.
Good morning.
Could you state your full name for the record, please?
John Travis Johnson.
And Travis, how old are you?
I'm 46 years old.
And do you live here in Key West?
I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a painter, but I'm a disabled veteran at the moment.
All right. You were a veteran?
Yes, sir.
When did you do your military service?
From 2004 to 2007.
Where were you stationed?
Multiple places, mostly in Fort Benning.
Did you go overseas?
I did, twice.
Where'd you go?
Kosovo and Afghanistan.
I'm sorry, sir?
Kosovo and Afghanistan.
Okay. And Travis, as we go through the morning, I just would ask you, try to speak slowly and into the mic so we have a good record of what you're saying, okay?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. Are you nervous this morning?
A little, yes.
Okay, if you need some water or anything, just let us know, all right?
Yes, sir.
Now, Travis, I want to take the jury back. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Mesquite, Texas, which is a little suburb outside of Dallas, Texas. I spent most of my life there. I was born in Chilliwack, British Columbia, though. I was born in Canada. And don't have much recollection of that.
Okay.
But I left home around 17. I've traveled multiple places and joined the military around 26.
All right. And you did your stint in the military from what years again?
From 2004 to 2007.
2004 to 7. So in 2007, when you got out of the military, where did you locate yourself?
I ended up in South Carolina for a little while, back into Dallas. I think roughly around 2010, I ended up in treatment for PTSD and some alcoholism and some other things.
Okay. Do you have addiction issues?
I do.
And is it just alcohol?
No, it's not.
What other kind of addiction do you have?
For the longest time, I had a methamphetamine addiction, and also I smoke cigarettes and I smoke marijuana and I drink alcohol, of course.
All right, fair enough. Now, at some point during your travels, did you make your way to the Florida Keys?
I did.
Okay, and when was that?
It was roughly 2016. In 2015, I did end up in a national PTSD program in the Miami VA. That's what gave me the attraction really for Florida. So after I was finished with that, 2016, I got lucky and got hooked up with a woman that wanted to start a snuba franchise down here, which is like a snorkel scuba.
It's called Snuba?
Snuba, yeah, that's what it's called.
All right.
And that was my plan, was to come down here in 2016 and start a business with her because I'd been awarded 100%. I'm now basically semi-retired. So this was my place of.
And did you in fact make your way down here then?
I did.
And were you along with her?
I was.
What was her name?
Her name was Crystal Barrett.
Okay. And this was 2016, you said, right?
Yes, roughly August of 2016.
And where did, when you guys got to the Keys, where did you set up?
I landed in Big Coppet. It was, I think it's about 10 miles outside of town. It didn't last very long. Due to unforeseen circumstances, our relationship dissolved, and I ended up on the streets. I ended up having to find another place of residence and a different venture, and that's what I did. So I ended up on Smathers Beach for about a month.
Living on the beach?
Living on the beach. And this is where I made friends with an individual by the name of David Gross.
Okay.
And this was he became a pretty close friend, helped me stay safe, stay off out of jail. And
now let me ask you, Travis, this is somebody you met while you were living on the beach?
This is somebody I met living on the beach.
So you were essentially homeless at that point?
Yes, I was.
Living on the beach?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you befriended this man
You
named
could have
David
done
Gross.
with a bit of cash then.
And did David Gross also live on the beach?
He did.
All right. And at some point, did David Gross find another place to live?
He did. I met a female, a romantic interest in roughly September of 2016, right after I'd got off of the beach when I was no longer homeless. And we had our life together for almost a year. I left Key West in June of 2017 with her to go stay in her house and get it ready to be sold. And then we were going to snowbird back down here and start over again at the end of the summer.
So let me just make sure I understand correctly, sir. So you met this new woman?
Yes.
And you guys relocated, you left the Keys?
We did.
And where'd you go?
We went to Detroit.
And why did you go to Detroit?
This is where her home was.
And did you live with her in Detroit?
Yes.
And how long were you in Detroit with her?
Just the summer, 3 months.
And this is
roughly 4.
And this is the summer of what? What year are we in now?
2017.
Okay. So the summer of 2017, you're in Michigan with her.
Yes.
And at some point during that summer, what happens?
Well, at the end of the summer, when season is supposed to start back up again, Hurricane Irma hit. It was rather devastating. And some friends of ours' home was destroyed. It kind of changed our plans of coming back down here together. And I made the decision to come back down here alone and to help some friends rebuild their home. And I roughly came back here. It was October 28th or 29th. It was the end of Fantasy Fest of 2017.
End of Fantasy Fest of 2017, right?
Yes. Yes.
You came back down to the Keys.
Yes.
How'd you get here?
I drove.
And what did you drive?
I drove my 2016 Dodge 1500 pickup truck.
What color's your truck?
It's a dark blue. It almost looks black, but it's a pearlescent blue.
Okay. And you drove that down here to the Keys?
I did.
And this is after the hurricane?
Yes, it was.
Were you, you just told the jury you came down here to help a friend rebuild their home.
Yes.
When you got to the keys, did you make contact with that friend?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Phones were displayed. The phone services weren't that great down here. It was a destruction zone. It was like a war zone down here. So it was not real easy to locate him. I didn't immediately locate him, but I did locate my friend David Gross.
And this is the friend who you had met the summer before?
Yeah, this is the individual that I met on the beach.
Okay. So you hooked up again with David Gross?
Yes.
All right. And take us from there. What did you and David Gross do at that point?
Well, I coincidentally ran back into him at the beach, but he wasn't living on the beach. He had acquired a residence over in Stock Island, known as the Warehouse. It was not really zoned for residential, but it was home for him. And it was also a place for me to, I guess you could say, reconnoiter, get my stuff together to figure out what I was going to do from that point.
Did he invite you to come there and stay?
He did.
Now, you said the residence was known as the Warehouse.
Yes.
And that's in Stock Island?
Yes, sir.
By the way, Travis, everything you're testifying to today, did that happen here in Monroe County?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Now, you said David invited you to come and stay at the Warehouse. Is that right?
Yes.
And describe for the jury, if you can, this place that you're referring to as the Warehouse. Is it an apartment?
No, it wasn't really an apartment. It was more of a business establishment with, I guess you could say, a residence built into it. It was a storage facility, a garage. And once you went inside, there was a set of steps that went upstairs and kind of laid out to a little dining room with 3 offset rooms to the side. And then below that was another garage. And at the very back of it was another apartment complex.
Did it have running water?
Yes.
Did it have bathroom facilities?
No.
Did it have electricity?
No.
And so this is not a designated apartment building. Is that fair to say?
No. And it had suffered extensive damage from the hurricane as well.
So it's just, I guess,
a flop house.
Flop house, lack of a better word?
Yes, sir.
Now, when David invited you to come and stay there, was it just you and he staying there?
No.
How many other people were staying there?
Quite a few. There was 2 other couples and a bunch of random people that just kept coming and going.
All right. And did you decide to take him up on his offer to go and stay there?
I did.
And this would have been when? Just so we're keeping track of on the calendar. Where, about what time? Was this still at the end of October?
No, it's around November 3rd or 4th now. I believe a few days had transpired. Yeah, it was Fantasy Fest was over, and it was into November now.
Okay, and now you're staying at this warehouse. What's your plan at that point, Travis?
I didn't really have much of a plan at this point. It was I was in limbo. I was in party mode now. I couldn't find the people I was looking for. I found a buddy of mine that I hadn't seen in a while, and so I had a lot of money in my pocket.
You had a lot of money in your pocket?
I did.
Where was the money from?
It was from number one, I'm a disabled veteran, so I received a rather healthy sum of money each month. And I had saved money from working in town, and Shayla was rather well off herself. So
now you said
I was not hurting.
I'm sorry, I cut you off. I didn't mean to.
I was not hurting financially at that point, no.
Okay, so you had money.
Yes.
And I guess your original intention in coming to Key West wasn't panning out. Is that fair to say?
No, it was not.
So you had just said to the jury that you were kind of going into party mode.
Yes.
What does party mode mean for you?
Drinking and smoking and
smoking what?
Smoking pot and smoking anything I could get my hands on at this point. I was in full, I guess you could say, relapse. I was back in my addiction.
Had you been clean and sober prior to coming back to Key West?
Yes, I had.
So now you're back in full party mode. Are you partying with David Gross?
I am.
Are you partying with anybody else in that warehouse?
Yeah, every now and again, Rory Wilson would come upstairs, and I guess to get away from his girlfriend, and he would hang out with us for a little while. I didn't really get too personal with him at this point. Wasn't real concerned with making friends at this point. I was just trying to have fun.
So you said this man that you became acquainted with was named Rory Wilson.
Yes.
And was he also staying at the warehouse?
He was not staying in the apartment that I was in. He was in the downstairs apartment that was at the back of the warehouse facility.
Okay, but still in that same building?
Just in the same building, yes.
Sergeant, Matt, show you the judge may approach the witness.
Yes, you may approach the witness.
Thank you, Judge. Having already shown it to defense counsel, Travis, I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as M as in Mike for identification. Do you recognize that photo?
I do.
And who is that in the photo?
That is Rory Wilson.
Is that how he looked appeared to you when you knew him?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, I seek to move in what's been previously marked as M.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Admit the state's next in order being
11.
Thank you, Madam. Okay, so this man that you became known to as Roy Wilson, is that right?
Yes.
Living downstairs?
Yes.
Okay. And you said he'd come upstairs every once in a while to hang out with you, is that right?
Well, not specifically with me because I didn't know him. He did with David, though, because they were neighbors.
Did Roy have a street name or a nickname?
Detroit.
Okay. Did Dave have a nickname?
He did.
What was his nickname?
Detroit.
So you had two Detroits there?
Yes.
All right. So you come upstairs and through his communications with David, did you become acquainted with Roy Wilson?
Yes.
You guys ever party together?
Yes.
Smoke dope together?
Yes.
Drink together?
Yes.
You guys ever, what other things did you do for entertainment? You guys play cards or anything?
Dominoes.
Dominoes?
Yes.
Roy Wilson used to play?
Yes.
Now, you're there with David, right, living upstairs? And you become acquainted with this Roy Wilson, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever become acquainted with someone who became known to you as Tyrone Tucker?
Not at this moment, no.
All right. So how long are you staying at the warehouse now? You're just kind of hanging out there?
I think I'd been there for roughly 5 days now. I believe the date was November 8th because it sticks in my mind because the police officers, Monroe County Sheriff's Department.
Do you think that might have impaired his judgment and decision-making processes at the time if he was in full party mode? Maybe he burned through all of his cash and needed some extra dosh to continue that habit. I'm just looking for reasons now, looking for motive.
At this date came in.
And you're right, Gabby, yes, it is sad.
The residents.
They came to the warehouse?
They came to the warehouse.
Were you there when they came?
I was.
And was David Gross there?
He was.
And what about Roy Wilson? Was he there?
He was.
These are all the things that I can focus on in the next trial. This is all to do with his credibility because it pretty much, his testimony is the only thing that they've got to go on. And his prior testimony is still considered evidence, regardless of how it was obtained. So he's got to create doubt in his credibility, to create doubt in the jurors' minds that he's innocent.
It's not.
So when the police officers came, was it daytime or nighttime?
It was daytime. It was early in the morning.
And what did they do when they came to the house that day?
Well, I was sitting at the dining room table watching a movie on my phone. It was, like I said,
That's awful, Gabby.
9 o'clock. And
I'm sorry,
the
sweetheart.
stairwell where I was sitting, the stairwell that goes down to the front entrance, I look over and there's two police officers walking up. I didn't know what was going on. I looked at them and I said, "Excuse me, can I help you?" And they basically just told me to be quiet. They were looking for somebody. They came into the residence, and I had been smoking pot that morning. I had a glass pipe sitting in front of me, and as they said what they were looking for somebody, I reached down and grabbed it and put it in my pocket. They didn't like that too much. They stopped me immediately, told me to put my hands back on the table, and arrested me for paraphernalia at that point, and proceeded to arrest everybody else that was in the house as well because everybody was on probation that was in there.
All right.
Open
Did
eyes.
they take you into the station?
They did.
All right. And did you go to jail that night or that day?
I did.
And how long were you in jail then on that situation?
For 6 days.
And then at some point you were released?
I was.
Okay. And did you, once you got released, where'd you go?
I went back to my truck. I went back to the warehouse.
Where was your truck while you were in jail?
Parked out in front of the warehouse.
All right. And when you got out of jail, you said you went back to the warehouse?
Yes.
And was your truck still there?
It was.
Was there anything done or damaged to your truck when you got back?
Yes, there was.
Let's tell the jury about that. What did you discover?
When I got back, like I said, this is a brand new truck. I was very proud of it. It was pristine. And the whole passenger side of my truck had been knifed or keyed or scraped. It looked like somebody just raked it from bumper to bumper, from as far as the paint was the top of the vehicle down to the bottom of the vehicle, all the way to the back of it. Thousands of dollars worth of damage. My tools were stolen. Almost every single piece of construction hardware that I brought was gone.
Where had those tools been?
Some of them were upstairs in the apartment, and some of them were downstairs in the bed of my truck.
What about your personal things, like your clothes and things like that?
They were upstairs as well. I had a foot locker, a big trunk, probably about 3.5 by 2.5 by 18, maybe 20 inches deep. And this was where my personal stuff was. This was inside of the residence.
And the Foot Locker was inside the residence?
Yes.
Not in your truck?
No.
Is it something you had unpacked into the residence when you decided to stay there?
Yes.
Did you take it upstairs to where you were staying?
Yes.
And when you got back from jail 6 days later, was it still there?
It was, but nothing that was in it was of any value was still in it.
Okay. Now, when you came back from jail, was Rory Wilson there?
Yes.
All right. And he was the guy living downstairs, right?
Yes.
What about David Gross? Was he there when you got out?
No.
What happened to him?
He was in jail for probation violation.
All right. Did you return to that upstairs unit to I guess, to continue living there?
To continue to figure out what I was going to do, yes.
And do you remember the date you got out of jail?
Yes, November 14th.
November 14th. And this is of 2017?
Yes.
All right. So now we're at November 14th of 2017. And you're out of jail now, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes.
Do you make contact again with Rory Wilson?
I do.
And at that point, do you become acquainted with somebody known as Tyrone Tucker?
I do.
And how did that come about?
They were both standing on the front porch whenever I arrived and began to notice this, I guess you could call it vandalism to my truck, and realized that my tools were gone. And this whole time, Mr. Wilson is stating that he's looking out for me. He collected some of my stuff so the crackheads didn't get to it. I wasn't real impressed with this, and I called the police. Number one, I needed to file a report on my truck. I needed to get my insurance going. So I called the police to come back and do an investigation. And unfortunately, it was the same individuals that had arrested me.
Same police that arrested came out to take the report?
Yes.
And did you file that report?
I did. They told me I filed what I could with them, but they told me that I would be in contact with a detective would be in contact with me soon.
All right. Now, you said that Rory Wilson was standing on the front porch with another man.
Yes.
That man became known to you as Tyrone Tucker?
Yes.
Is that the first time you met him?
Yes.
Take a look around the courtroom, Travis, if you would, please. Do you see that man sitting in here today?
I do.
Can you identify where you see him sitting?
Yes, he's sitting right there.
It's just so our record is clear that you are pointing to the defendant sitting at the defense table.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is that the man that became known to you as Tyrone Tucker?
Yes, sir.
And he was standing with Rory Wilson that day?
Yes.
And did you have like a formal introduction to him, or is it just he was there, you were there, and you started hanging out?
Well, one of the things that kind of stuck in my mind is that Mr. Wilson referred to him as the only white man in the Keys named Tyrone.
Okay. So that was kind of your introduction to him?
Yes.
And did you continue partying when you got out of jail?
I did the best I could. Yes. I wanted to stay comfortable and as, which is a retarded term, but as clear-headed as possible.
Understood.
And I just tried to return his business as normal. I was told not to leave by the police officers due to now a suspended driver's license. I'm out on bond. I have an open investigation on my truck. So for lack of, a better place to go, I had to stay there.
And by staying there, did you continue with your partying?
Of course.
Smoking?
Yes.
Drinking?
Yes.
Playing dominoes?
Yes.
Now, who were you hanging out with now? David Gross is gone, right?
Yes.
So who are your partner, or who are your pals, I guess, for lack of a better phrase?
Mr. Tucker and Mr. Wilson.
All right. The three of you hang out together?
Yes.
Drinking together?
Yes.
Smoking dope together?
Yes.
Again, what kind of drugs did you guys smoke together?
We were smoking Molly. We were smoking crack cocaine, pot, cigarettes, drinking alcohol, beer.
Now, who supplied these drugs? Like, where did they come from?
Me for the longest time. I mean, me for the next 3 days. Yes.
Your money?
Yes.
So you're supplying the dope, and you and these new friends of yours are reaping the benefits of it.
Yes.
So that goes on for a couple of days?
Yes.
All right. Travis, at some point, does the money run out, or does your money run out?
It did.
All right. Does that mean that the dope ran out?
Yes, it does.
Was Tucker or Wilson, were they working at that time?
No.
Were they staying in that warehouse?
Yes.
I mean, for all intent and purposes, living there as well?
Yes.
All right. Wilson, you said he was living downstairs. Is that right?
Yes.
Where was Tucker living?
He was staying upstairs in the bedroom next door to where David Gross's bedroom was.
And are you staying upstairs as well?
Yes.
So do you have an opportunity to spend a lot of time with Tucker?
I did have the opportunity, but we didn't spend every waking moment with each other. Of course not. And that wasn't practical.
But you're both living upstairs, right?
Yes.
Do you see him a lot?
Yes.
At some point you said the part of the drugs or your money ran out, right?
Yes.
Did Tucker or Wilson have money to contribute to the continued partying?
No.
All right. At some point, does the need arise for you guys to figure out how to get more dope?
Yes.
And more money?
Yes.
All right. Tell us about that. How did that come about?
I guess this was November 17th now. We had spent most of the day apart, me at the beach. I don't know what Wilson and Tucker were doing, but I would say around 5:30ish, 6 o'clock, I went back to the warehouse. And
you'd spent the day at the beach?
Yes.
All right.
And
were they at the beach with you?
No, I was by myself.
All right.
And I went back to the apartment, and Tucker was there. Wilson was not. I don't know what time it was, but it wasn't dark yet. And Wilson shows back up, rather excited.
Why was he excited?
Because he had just heard that someone down the street had somebody at Burger King. This is what I remember specifically. That somebody at Burger King had just told him that somebody had a large amount of money and cocaine, and told him where it was and that he wanted to go get it.
And when he told you this, did he tell you this while you were at the warehouse?
Yes.
And where in the warehouse did he tell you this? Were you guys upstairs, downstairs?
Upstairs.
So he came upstairs?
Yes.
Where was Tucker there when Wilson made this announcement?
Yes.
And where was Tucker?
Sitting at the dining room table with me.
So the three of you are upstairs now?
Yes.
And Wilson brings this news to the warehouse?
Yes.
Did he share with you and Tucker where this location was that had the dope and the drugs? I'm sorry, the drugs and the money.
The Treehouse. That was the only reference that he'd made.
All right. Were you familiar with something called the Treehouse?
No, I wasn't.
All right. You were not familiar with it?
No.
Did you become familiar with it?
Only after this scenario.
All right. And once Wilson identified, once Wilson identified this location, did you guys, or did you weren't familiar with it, right?
No.
So how did you become familiar with it?
By going over and looking at it, by driving by it and surveying it.
All right. Did you guys do that at that moment in time?
I don't know if it was at that moment in time. The sun had gone down. It was dark at this point. The first trip that we went over there, it was dark.
It was dark?
Yes.
So did this time I approach the witness?
Yes.
I previously shown defense counsel that the marked as ends in November. Take a look at that photo, Travis. Do you recognize it?
I don't recognize the photo, but That's a daylight picture of the Treehouse area. I've never been in that area, so I don't recognize that per se, no.
Fair enough, but do you recognize the structure?
Yes,
And what is that?
the Treehouse.
Okay, is that how it appeared to you back in 2017?
No, again, like I said, I've never seen it in the daylight before. I did not
You
know.
saw it at nighttime?
Yes, I've only seen it.
Other than the fact that it's a daylight picture, is that the structure known to you as a treehouse?
Yes.
Subject seeking moved in was previously marked as November?
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Admit as next in order for the state being what, 12?
Yes.
Okay, Travis, let's tell the jury what they see in this photograph.
I see a clump of trees and a wood structure, and looks like a large amount of trash collected around it, maybe even a generator.
Now, do you see the structure buried in the trees?
Not very well.
Is it pretty much hidden from view?
Yes.
The first time you ever heard about this place is when Wilson told you guys about it, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So he tells you about it, and you've never heard of it before. So you said you guys did a drive-by or a drive-over. Is that fair?
Yes.
How did you guys get over there?
My truck.
You drove?
Yes, sir.
Did they ride with you?
Yes, sir.
And when I say they, who do I mean?
Wilson and Tucker.
Wilson and this defendant sitting here?
Yes.
So they jump in the truck with you?
Yes.
Do you drive over there?
Yes.
And do you drive by the structure known as the treehouse?
Yes.
Gabby, are you driving again? Don't apologize. It's hysterical. I love it.
Does Wilson identify that as the location that he got information on?
Yes.
Do you stop at that time or do you just drive by?
I just drove by.
Could you see anybody at that structure at that time?
Douche waffle.
Any human beings walking around or anything?
No, sir.
Was there any cars in front of it?
No, not at this point.
Okay. Daytime or nighttime at this point?
This is nighttime.
So you guys do, I guess what you call, do you stop or do you continue driving?
I continue to drive.
And you do this once around, I guess.
This is the once around, yes. Before we went back to the apartment.
Well, that was my next question. After you did the once around, where did you go?
Back to the apartment.
And when you say the apartment, you mean the warehouse?
The warehouse, correct.
Okay, and what's the purpose in going back to the warehouse at this point?
At this point, for them to change clothes and to, I guess, put on darker clothes and go back.
Now, had a plan been crafted or hatched as to what you guys were going to be doing?
A rudimentary plan. I wouldn't say like a plan had been hacked. It was more or less Wilson wanted to go get this lick because he had a baby on the way and he needed the money to pay his cell phone bill.
And I'm going to stop you right there, Travis. Don't mean to interrupt. You said a lick.
Yes.
For the jury's benefit, what does a lick mean in your vernacular?
Well, in the slang terms, it's a come up. It's a robbery or a way for someone to make some money illegitimately.
So it's a lick.
It's a lick. Yeah. It's called hitting a lick.
And so Wilson wants to do this lick and get the money.
Yes.
And is this discussion had between the three of you?
Yes.
And tell us about the discussion, like what, you said Wilson wanted to do this. What was he saying?
He wasn't really saying much. He just was adamant that we go do this.
All right. Was this defendant involved in that discussion?
Somewhat, yes.
Was he there when Wilson was talking?
Yes.
All right. And did they identify what your role was going to be?
Just to drive, yeah.
And you say just to drive. How did that come about? What did they say to you?
You're going to drive us over there.
In your truck?
Yes.
All right. Did you agree to drive him over there?
I did.
And what was going to be your benefit? Did they ever give you one?
Yes, some gas money for my truck.
Really?
They told you you'd get out of it?
You were going to, really?
When the three...
You were going to assist in a felony for some gas money. Really?
You had this conversation. Were there any details about how this was going to play out?
No, sir.
You know, any details about who would go in, who would stay in the car, anything like that?
No. No, I mean, obviously I was going to stay in the vehicle. It's my truck. You know, I'm not going to just let somebody I don't know drive my truck.
So was there any discussion about you going inside?
No.
Was there discussion about Tucker and Wilson going inside?
It wasn't really discussion. It was just a known fact that this wasn't something that was discussed. Those two were friends. I was not their buddy. I was an outsider, you know.
But you did agree to drive him over there.
I did.
So after you do the once around on the Treehouse, you came back to the warehouse, you said?
Yes.
And when you came back to the warehouse, what did the two guys get out of the truck?
Yes, I stopped up front and they got out and went inside.
And when you say they, you mean?
Tucker and Wilson.
Tucker and Wilson. Did you stay in the truck?
I did.
And what was their purpose in going back inside the warehouse?
Darker clothes, mask, weapons.
And how long would you say they were in the warehouse until they came out?
Maybe 5-10 minutes.
And where were you during that time?
In my truck.
Waiting for them?
Yes.
Now you said about 5 or 10 minutes. Is that right?
Yes.
And they came back out eventually?
Yes.
Had they changed clothes?
Yes.
What were they wearing now?
Mr. Wilson was wearing all black, long sleeve shirt and gym shorts, black gym shorts, and a mask. And Tucker was wearing long pants, long shirt, and a mask. And both were carrying weapons.
Okay, so let's break it down. What color was the clothing they were wearing?
Black.
And let's take Wilson first. You said Wilson had on dark clothing?
Yes.
Long pants or short pants?
Shorts.
And dark shirt as well?
Yes.
And you said he had a mask?
Yes.
What kind of a mask? Can you describe it for the jury?
A demon mask. That's just the most horrible, evil-looking demon mask that you could. I basically describe. It was horrible.
And you say he was wearing the mask. How was he wearing it?
On top of his head, it had like a little chin strap, and he was wearing it like you would, like a birthday mask or something like that. One of those little birthday hats, just perched on top of his head.
Pulled down in front of his face?
No, it was just sitting on top of his head like a hat, with the strap underneath his chin.
All right. Judge, I'm going to show defense counsel Mr. Marcus Lima.
So I'm going to assume it's in there. I'm going to assume it's in there.
Judge, this time they approach?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, just go ahead and open up the bag and take a look at that. Tell me if you recognize that.
Just leave it in there.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Let's take a look at it while it's in the bag. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
You recognize it?
I do
What do you recognize it as?
The demon mask.
Demon mask.
Yep.
Is that the mask that Wilson was wearing when he came out of the warehouse?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Any
kitty.
question about
What
it?
are you doing? Hmm?
Does that mask appear now as it did to you when you saw it on top of his head that day?
It does.
So at this time, I see who's in with the previously marked as Lima.
Is there any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Come on.
Admit states L for identification into evidence and states 13.
Yes.
You're my baby.
Commissioner Hollister?
Yes.
All right, so
And a
you
big
described
boy.
this demon mask, right?
Yes,
Is that it?
that is it.
That's the mask that Wilson, you said Wilson had on, right?
Yes, correct.
That is horrible.
Top of his head.
Yes,
And he had this on his
Looks like me before coffee in the morning.
yes,
And Wilson's the one with the picture we saw a little bit earlier, the African American man. Is that
yes, correct.
right? Did he have a weapon when he came out of the warehouse?
He did.
What kind of a weapon did he have?
He had a pipe
How do you know he had a pipe?
because in his right hand.
All right. So he comes out of the warehouse wearing this on top of his head and a pipe in his hand. Is that right?
Yes,
And when he walked over to your truck, did he get in your truck?
yes, he did. He got into the front passenger side.
He gets in the front. Now, let's talk about this defendant, Tucker, Tyrone Tucker. Did he come out of the warehouse as well?
He did.
Describe his clothing, if you would, please.
He's wearing long black pants, boots, and a long sleeve black shirt. And a mask.
I'm sorry?
And a mask.
And describe for the jury, if you can, the mask that he was wearing.
It's considered like a neck gaiter or a neck buff. It's just like a tube of fabric that you pull down over your head and it stretches up around a mask. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them, but they use them a lot down here in fishing.
Now, just remember this. John Travis Johnson is the only person throughout the entire investigation that mentions this gaiter mask, neck mask. Everyone else says they both had skeleton masks on, and they had to concoct this story of something covering the neck region because Ty had a huge what do you call it? My brain is just not a beard, a goatee. Had a massive goatee. So when Todd O'Quinn saw Travis pulling the mask off, a long goatee would have been an identifying feature. And so they've now covered that by saying that there is this gaiter thing around his neck, which would have covered the goatee. Yeah. And they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's. Thanks, Gabby. My brain's dead. It's definitely starting to wane.
I guess block the sun. And it said Jägermeister all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Said a neck gaiter that said Jägermeister.
Yes.
Now, did he have it pulled up over his face?
No, he just had it around his neck. It was crumpled up around his neck at this point.
All right, and you saw that on him?
Yes.
And did you see if he had any weapons?
He did.
What kind of a weapon did he have?
He had a knife in his hand.
And how do you know he had a knife?
I could see it in his hand.
Was he carrying it when he came out of the warehouse?
Yes.
And yet Roger said both assailants had a knife each, no pipe.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to make sure I don't lose my way here. All right, so you said he was carrying a knife.
Yes.
You saw the knife?
Yes.
Can you describe it for the jury?
It was roughly this long. I guess you could say about 10 to 12 inches long. Black and red handle with a metal pommel, double-edged, serrated on one side, sharp on the other.
Okay. Judge going to show defense counsel the previously marked as kilo.
Gee, you must have really taken a lot of notice of that knife to see what was on each side of it. If it was in the dark and he's getting into your car.
It's open now. Okay, now just open it up. It's not sealed. No, actually, just for a second, just because I want to clarify here.
Okay. An approach.
Sidebar.
Yes.
And what do you recognize that to be?
That to be the knife.
Which knife is that?
The knife that Tucker had in his possession when he came outside.
And how do you know that? Did you see the knife at that time?
Yes.
The knife that you're looking at now, which has been previously marked as kilo, is that the knife?
Yes, sir, it is.
Does it appear to be altered or changed in any way from when you saw in Tucker's hand that night?
No, sir.
So at this time, I see moving kilo.
All right, is there any objection?
No, sir.
All right, then. Admit state's K for identification. That would be number 14
Yes.
for the state.
Commissioner Paul?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Travis, let's take a look at this. Is this the knife that you saw?
Yes, sir.
Is this the knife you saw on the day of the crime?
Yes, sir.
And who was in possession of this knife?
This was Tucker.
Okay. Do you remember this being in Tucker's hand
Yes.
when he came out of the warehouse?
Yes.
All right. Now, let me ask you, Travis, tell us more about the plan. What was your understanding of what the plan was when you got over to the warehouse?
They were just going to go inside and take the money from this woman and the crack and come back. And we would go back to the hotel. I mean, back to the warehouse, the house.
And again, your job was to wait for them in the truck.
Yes.
Do you remember if they were wearing gloves when they came out of the house that day, out of the warehouse?
Do not remember.
Don't remember if they had gloves or not?
No.
Now, they come out, right? You've already described what they're wearing and what they're armed with. Do they both get into your truck?
Yes.
Where does Tucker get in your truck?
Absolutely, he's lying.
In the back seat of my truck.
100%.
And Wilson gets where?
In the front passenger seat of my truck.
Is that where he was on the previous drive around?
Yes.
And is that where the defendant was sitting on the previous drive around?
Yes.
Now, once they got back in your truck, what did you do?
I proceeded to drive back over to the treehouse.
And just so the jury has an idea of how long this would take, how long would that drive actually take from the warehouse to the treehouse?
About a minute.
Close.
Maybe less. It was very close.
And you drove back over there, is that right?
Yes.
Daytime or nighttime?
Nighttime.
Describe the lighting if you could. What's the lighting in that area by the treehouse?
Very poor.
Illuminated well?
No, not at all.
Can you see the structure at all?
No.
When you pull over there, do you see anybody else there when you pull over there?
There was a black vehicle out front, yes.
All right. And when you guys saw the black vehicle, what did you decide to do?
To drive around the block.
And why is that?
Hopefully they wouldn't be there when we came back.
So did you drive around the block?
I did.
And about how long did that drive around the block take, if you recall?
Maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3.
Okay. And did you come back to the treehouse then?
I did.
And when you did, were they still in the truck with you?
Yes.
And when you came back to the treehouse, was that car still out in front?
No, sir.
Was there any car out in front?
No, sir.
Were there any people around?
No, sir.
All right. And what, if anything, did you do when you came back to the treehouse after the drive around the block?
I stopped in front of the gate. They being Wilson and Tucker, exited my vehicle. I pulled forward about another 50 meters from the gate and stopped at a stop sign.
And
off to the side of the road at the stop sign, not in the road at the stop sign, but on the side of the road.
Okay. And when you stopped there, what was your intention at that point?
To wait for them to come back out.
Now, when they got out of the truck, were they both still wearing those masks?
Yes.
And did they both still have those weapons in their hands?
Yes.
Again, what weapon was Wilson carrying?
A pipe.
What about this defendant?
He was carrying a knife.
Okay. Do you see them go into the gate?
I watched them go through the gate, yes.
And at some point, did you lose sight of them?
I did.
All right. So then, at this point, you're sitting in the truck. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
How much time goes by until something happens next?
I don't know exactly how long. It didn't seem like very long. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe less. And somebody comes running out of the gate with a flashlight, screaming, "Help, help, help, call police." And
were you able to see that person?
I could see them. I saw them in my rearview mirror. I didn't particularly get a good look at them. At this point, I'm thinking, I'm out of here. I'm not dealing with this. And before I could pull away, I look in my rearview mirror again, and I see Tucker exiting the gate and running after my truck. As he is, he's fumbling around on the ground, dropping stuff, trying to stuff it back into a black bag that I could see he's got in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And
I call bullshit.
Around the corner, and I take off back to the apartment or the warehouse.
Now, you said the first man came out waving a flashlight and screaming for help.
Yes.
Could you make out facial features on that person?
Negative, no.
Did you ever find out who that was?
I believe it was a Todd O'Quinn.
All right. And how long after Todd O'Quinn came running out of that gate did you see Tucker come out of that gate?
Seconds. Maybe 10, 15 seconds, not long.
Now, when you saw Tucker come out of the gate, you said you saw it in your rearview mirror?
I saw Tucker in my rearview mirror, then turned around and observed him. But I was also in the process of removing myself from the scene.
So you actually turned around and also made visual contact?
Yes.
And when you turned around, did you see him?
I did.
And how do you know it was him?
From what he was wearing and the direction he was running, which was towards my truck.
And is that the person that you knew was Tucker?
Yes.
Is that the guy who had just gotten out of your truck?
Yes.
And he said at this point he was fumbling with something. Explain that. What was he fumbling with?
Oh, he had a bag in his hand and stuff kept falling out of it onto the ground, and he kept reaching down, trying to stuff it back into the bag as he was running after me.
And at that point, what was your intention?
To leave.
Did you wait for him?
No.
What'd you do?
I drove back to the apartment.
To the warehouse?
To the warehouse.
Again, how long would that drive take?
Not long. It was about 200 meters.
And at that point, what kind of reaction did you have to what you had just seen coming out of the warehouse? I mean, coming out of the treehouse?
Fear, I guess you could say, uneasiness. I really, for lack of any knowledge, I was just nervous. I didn't know what had happened. So.
And you said you went back to the warehouse.
I did.
When you got to the warehouse, did you go inside?
I did.
Parked your truck there and went inside?
Yes.
And did you go upstairs or stay downstairs?
I went upstairs.
And how long, at some point, did Tucker show up at the warehouse?
He did.
How long after you got back to the warehouse did Tucker show up there?
Not long, minutes.
And he arrived there, is that fair to say?
Yes.
And when he got there, where did he go?
He came upstairs as well.
All right. Do you remember him coming up the steps that day to the second floor?
Yes.
And did you guys talk at that point?
We had some words, yes.
And what, if anything, do you remember the defendant? Was he still wearing the dark clothing?
Yes.
And did he have that bag that you saw him fumbling with? Did you see that in his hand?
Yes.
What about the weapon? Do you remember seeing the weapon?
No.
Do you remember seeing if he had gloves or not?
No.
And you didn't see the weapon at that point?
No.
But you saw this bag?
Yes.
All right. Did he come upstairs with that bag in his hands?
Yes.
And what did he say to you when he got up the stairs that day?
What the fuck, man? What's wrong with you? Why did you leave us? Why did you fucking take off?
Was he mad that you had left?
Yes.
And did he direct that anger at you?
Yes.
All right. And what was your response to him?
I don't want no part of this. I'm going to walk for a walk. I'm going to get a pack of cigarettes. I'll be back.
Did you ask him what happened inside there?
No.
Didn't ask him?
No.
Were you curious as to what happened in there?
Yes.
Did you have a feeling about what happened in there?
Not one of super negativity, no. Not one of murder for sure, no.
But he was angry, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Mad at you?
Yes.
Was he screaming at you or shouting at you?
No, it wasn't screaming or shouting, but it was definitely directed disappointment. There was intention.
What was he mad about?
Me abandoning them.
All right. Did you ever see Wilson come out of that structure that day?
No.
Or, I'm sorry, that night after when you saw Todd O'Quinn, then you saw this defendant. Any other, did you remember seeing Wilson come out of there?
No.
Now you're back at the warehouse now. Defendant's upset with you, right?
Yes.
You said you decided to leave.
Yes.
Where did you decide to go?
I decided to walk down the street, down to the Tom Thumb, which is literally, I guess, the halfway point between the treehouse and the warehouse, to get a pack of cigarettes, kind of take a breath. And
all right, how'd you get there? Did you drive or walk?
I walked.
And was anybody with you when you went there?
No, not when I went there.
At some point on the walk to the Tom Thumb, did you run into Wilson?
I encountered Wilson. Yes, I did.
Where did you encounter him?
Walking across the street in the parking lot of the Tom Thumb.
And is that the first time you'd seen him since he'd gotten out of your truck to go into the treehouse?
Yes, sir, it was.
When you saw him at the Tom Thumb, did you guys talk to each other?
We did.
And did you ask him what had happened inside that treehouse?
I did.
And what did he tell you?
Not to worry about it.
Did he give you any details about what happened?
Negative. None.
Do you remember how many times you asked him what happened?
Once.
And he said, don't worry about it.
Yes, sir.
And that was it. You accepted that.
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you push him for more, Travis?
Lack of desire to know what really went on in there.
Did you get your cigarettes?
I did.
And was Wilson there when you got your cigarettes?
He was.
And after you got your cigarettes, what did you do?
Walk back to the warehouse.
And did Wilson walk with you?
He did.
What did you guys talk about on your way back to the warehouse?
It was a pretty quiet walk. There wasn't much exchanged at all.
At some point, you guys arrived back to the warehouse?
Yes.
And take us through that. You get to the warehouse, where'd you go? Bottom floor, upstairs?
Went back upstairs.
When you get upstairs, is this defendant still upstairs?
He is.
And so now the three of you are back together again.
Yes.
Is there any conversation between Tucker and Wilson about what happened inside that warehouse?
No, sir.
When you ran into Wilson on your way to that Tom Thumb, when you ran into Wilson, did he have that mask anymore?
No, sir.
Mask was gone?
Yes.
What about that pipe that he had in his hand? Where was that?
Gone.
No pipe and no mask?
Nope.
When you saw Tucker back at the warehouse, did he have the knife yet?
No.
Do you remember seeing the mask or the neck gaiter that he had that said Jägermeister?
No.
Neck gaiter was gone and weapon was gone.
Yes.
Now, you guys are all back together again on the second floor of the warehouse, right?
Yes.
And you said there was not really a conversation going on about what happened?
No, sir.
And at some point, do they start talking about what they got out of that warehouse? I'm sorry, out of that tree house?
Not so much talking about it, but pulling the stuff. Wilson had like a tin. It almost looked like a snuff can that was in his pocket. It was full of crack cocaine. And then there was also...
Whose pocket was that in?
It was in Wilson's.
And he produced that tin?
Yes.
And what did he do with it?
He set it on the table.
Is it on a table that was upstairs in the warehouse?
The dining room table, yes.
All right. And what else? Did he unload his pockets at that point?
He had some money in his pockets as well, yes.
Do you recall how much? Or approximately how much?
Well, not when he immediately pulled it out, but when he was sitting there counting through it, it didn't look like any more than about $200 or $300.
$200 or $300. And that's money you saw him pull out of his pocket?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did he have any money in his pockets before you went to the treehouse?
No.
I mean, what was the purpose of going over there?
To get money and to get drugs.
So now he's got this money in his pocket. Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
And you see him produce that money?
Yes.
And this tin?
Yes.
What's inside the tin?
Crack cocaine.
How do you know it?
Because I know what crack cocaine looks like.
And did you look inside the tin?
Yes.
Now, this defendant, was he there as well?
Yes.
Tucker was there?
Yes.
Did he produce any spoils of the robbery to you at that point?
No. Just the bag that he had, he emptied it on the table. It had nothing in it but personal effects.
All right, let's talk about that bag. Is that consistent with the bag that you'd seen him fumbling with when he came out of the treehouse?
Yes.
And is that the bag that he had back at the warehouse?
Yes.
And you said he was emptying the
contents.
I'm sorry, emptying the contents onto this table as well.
Yes.
What kind of stuff was in that bag that he was emptying out?
Pens and notepads and feminine effects, more trinkets than anything, nothing of any substantial value.
It appeared to be the stuff that the stuff that would belong typically to a female or typically to a male?
Typically to a female, yes.
All right. And at some point, did you receive anything from the take, I guess, for lack of a better phrase?
I did.
What'd you get?
I got a $50 bill for gas.
Who gave you that?
That was received from Tucker.
Tucker gave you that?
Yes.
And where'd that 50 come from?
From the water money that Wilson had.
That he pulled out of his pockets?
Mm-hmm.
You guys say yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you got a $50 bill out of the take.
Yes.
And this defendant's the one that handed it to you.
Yes.
And do you remember anything distinctive about that money that was handed to you?
It smelled like perfume.
Perfume?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Is that yes? Okay.
Yes, sir. I apologize.
It's all right. Anything else in that bag that you recall? You said there was makeup or something? Is that what you said? Or just pads and paper and things like that?
Yes.
No other drugs or anything in that bag?
No, sir.
All right, so now you got your gas money, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you said there was crack cocaine in that tin.
Yes.
So did you guys at some point start smoking that crack cocaine.
We did. Another individual had showed up during all of the end of this after, we had divvied up the money and the crack was there. A gentleman by the name of Scott Perryman, big guy. And
Scott Perryman.
Yes. I was kind of relieved to see him. He was a friend from the beach. And at this point, me and him exited the warehouse and went downstairs outside to where my truck was and to have a beer. And I started to make some phone calls to Shayla. This was my fiance at the time. And this is when I encountered Penny Phelps and the SWAT team as they were moving through the neighborhood.
Hi, Travis. So how long were you and Tucker and Wilson upstairs until this other guy showed up?
Maybe 15 minutes.
And you said his name was Scott?
Yes.
Was he also staying at the warehouse?
Randomly, yes. Occasionally, yes.
All right. So he stops by. It's somebody you recognize from the beach. You guys step outside.
Yes.
When you step outside, where is this defendant and Wilson at that point?
They're upstairs.
You leave them upstairs?
Yes.
So you said you went outside and started making some phone calls?
Yes.
Called your girlfriend?
Yes.
What's going through your head at this point?
I just want to go home. At this point, I'm just really not enjoying my present company, not enjoying my situation, just not real sure about my safety. I just wanted to go home.
Are you concerned about what happened inside that treehouse or what may have happened?
Somewhat, but no, it wasn't pressing.
And you said at some point the police come upon you and your buddy while you're outside in front of the warehouse.
Yes.
And did they make contact with you?
They did.
All right. And did they talk to you about anything?
Yes, they asked me if I'd seen anybody running by in dark clothing, black male. I, of course, hadn't seen anything of that nature, so I didn't affirm her, request. But I did ask what had happened, and she just told me there was a fight up at CVS.
Okay.
That's where I left it.
Did you start connecting the dots that she's asking for information? This could have something to do with what just happened, or?
Yes.
And at some point, did she start talking to you about the charge or the report you filed on your truck?
No, not at this point. No.
Okay. So you don't really confirm anything for the police at that point in time?
No.
But they move on then, is that fair?
Yes.
And they move on. How long are you and Scott outside having this break?
When they move on, we went back in within probably 2 or 3 minutes after parting ways with the law enforcement.
You go back upstairs?
Yes.
And who's upstairs when you get up there?
Wilson, Tucker, me, and Scott Perryman.
And what do you guys decide to do when you get back in there?
Start smoking crack.
All right. All four of you are smoking crack at that point?
Yes, sir.
And I guess the party continued, huh?
Yes, sir, it did.
All right. Now we're talking about November 17th. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And how late in the night did you guys smoke crack that night?
Till about the sun came up.
And when the sun came up, what, if anything, did you do?
Well, I of course went to sleep for a little while. I woke up. The warehouse was empty except for me and Scott. And I decided at this point that I was going to find a way to remove myself from this scenario.
And so what'd you do?
I went to the beach.
Smathers Beach?
Yes, sir.
Is that the beach you typically hung out at?
Yes.
And when you left the warehouse that day to go to the beach, do you remember if Tucker was still there?
No.
You don't remember, or he wasn't there?
There was nobody there but me and Scott.
The next morning we're talking.
Yes.
And was Wilson gone as well?
Yes.
So you go to the beach that day, right?
Yes.
At some point, do you come back to the warehouse after your day at the beach?
Yes, later that evening.
All right. And now we're talking about the 18th. Is that right?
Yes.
Now you come back to the warehouse. Is Tucker there?
This day I don't remember the 18th very clearly, or the 19th. I know that I was in shambles trying to get my stuff together.
Why, Travis? Why do you say you were in shambles trying to get your stuff together?
I didn't feel safe anymore. I didn't want to be around these people. Shayla was really upset with the scenario and the way it was panning out, wanted me to come home.
And Shayla's your girlfriend up in Michigan?
Yes.
And so what's your plan at that point?
Well, she suggests to me that I make contact with a contractor that she knew from her working at Mangrove Mamas, an individual by the name Martin Ochoa. And she had made contact with him and arranged for me to have a meeting with him to get some work, to make some extra money, and to possibly have a place safe to go from where I was.
So this is something that Shayla arranged for you?
Yes.
And were you able to make contact with this Ochoa guy?
Yes, I was.
Was this on the 18th, the day after the event?
No, I believe this was the 19th.
All right. And you said you don't remember much about the 18th. Do you remember running into Tucker and Wilson at all during that time?
No, I do not.
You said you made contact with this Ochoa person, correct?
Yes.
Where did you guys make contact?
At Mangrove Mamas.
All right. And how did you get up there?
My truck.
And you made contact with him?
I did.
Did he have work for you?
He did.
And where was that work going to be?
In Big Pine.
And what kind of work was he going to be offering you?
There was paint work, there was roofing work, construction, basically refurbishing and rebuilding a house that had been damaged in the hurricane.
And did you tell him you'd do the work?
I did.
And did he also offer you a place to stay?
He did.
And did you decide to accept that offer?
Absolutely.
And what was the offer? Where were you going to be staying?
I was going to be staying in the house that I was going to be working on in Big Pine.
Did you return after this conversation with Ochoa? Did you ever go back to the warehouse?
I did.
And what day are we talking about now?
This, I believe, is the 19th as well.
Now, you said you went back to the warehouse. Do you remember if it was daytime or nighttime?
It was the daytime.
When you got back there, was Tucker there?
He was.
And what about Wilson? Was Wilson there?
No, he was not.
All right. And did you have did you have any interaction with Tucker when you got back to the warehouse that day?
Slightly, yes, not prolonged. It was more in passing because I was packing my stuff, trying to get out of there.
All right. And do you remember the nature of that conversation? Do you remember what he was saying?
No.
Did you guys talk about anything happening at the Treehouse?
No.
Now, at some point, you became aware of somebody having been stabbed there. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir, it is.
Tell the jury how you became aware that something like that had happened at the Treehouse.
I was out at the beach, and I guess you could call it the Coconut Telegraph. There's lots of homeless people that hang out at Smathers Beach. And of course, the news had gotten around, and they were telling me about what had happened. And I realized that this was the scenario that I was involved with.
And this was when the Coconut Telegraph, is this when you went to the beach the very next day on the 18th?
No. I didn't hear about it until the 19th.
Until the 19th?
Yes.
All right. And then you heard about it, you said through the Coconut Telegraph.
Yes.
Did you hear about it before you went to meet Ochoa, or did you hear about it when you got back from Ochoa?
When I got back.
And did you put it together that was the situation, or that was the event from a couple nights before?
Yes, I did.
Did you become aware that somebody had been killed during that event?
Yes, I did.
And did you become aware of the name of the person?
No, I still hadn't become aware of the name of the individual.
Do you know Matthew Bonnett?
No, I did not.
Never met him?
Never met him.
So when you find this information out, do you ever confront this defendant about the information that you had obtained?
No, sir, I did not.
Why not, Travis?
Fear. Simple fear. I didn't want to put any attention on me for anything at this point.
All right. So then did you made contact with Ochoa, decided to take the job, right?
Yes.
So when you come back to the warehouse on the 19th, do you begin packing your things?
I did.
Why do you do that?
Because I'm leaving.
To go do this job?
Yes, to move out of this apartment, to get away from this whole scenario completely.
Okay. And do you ever see Wilson before you leave?
No.
And you said Tucker was there that day when you packed up?
Yes.
Did you pack up all the things that you had unloaded inside of that warehouse?
Everything that I could possibly identify as mine, yes.
What about that Foot Locker that you had unloaded? Did you pack that back up?
Yes, I did.
And where'd you put it?
It got put into the back of my truck, the bed of my truck.
Now, while you were packing up, did you have like exclusive control over that Foot Locker?
No, sir, I didn't.
Were you keeping an eye on your truck the entire time?
No, sir, I wasn't.
Was anybody helping you pack your things?
I did get help from Tucker initially. When I was able to move my Foot Locker out of the apartment, it was quite heavy. So he did help me get it into my truck.
Who helped you?
Mr. Tucker.
Defendant sitting here?
Yes.
Did you tell him where you were going and what your plan was?
No.
Did you tell him you were leaving?
Yes.
Did he ask why you were leaving?
No.
Did you share any of the information you'd obtained about what had happened at the Treehouse 2 nights
No.
before?
No, sir, I did not.
At some point, do you get your truck loaded up?
I did.
And do you ever see Wilson again before you leave for the new job?
No.
And do you ever become aware that if they had been taken in or not on this situation?
I did become aware that that Wilson had been arrested, yes.
All right. So then you go in, you get in your truck, you have all your stuff at this point, right?
Yes.
And where do you go?
I went to Big Pine, to the house on Enterprise Road.
And that's for the job for Ochoa?
Yes.
And do you remember the date when you did this?
I believe it was the 20th or the 20th. I don't remember exactly what day it is, but I knew it was the day of the raid. Whatever the day of the raid was, when they were arrested, it was that afternoon that I left.
All right, so let's talk about the day of the raid. What are you talking about when you say the day of the raid?
There was a search warrant executed on the warehouse.
Were you there when it was executed?
No, sir, I was not.
Had you left already?
Yes.
And did you become aware of this raid?
I did become aware of it, yes.
How did you become aware of it?
When I went back, I think my timeline's a little messed up. When I went back to collect my stuff, the raid had already occurred. And that's where I encountered, what was her name? His girlfriend, the pregnant woman.
April?
April. And she was asking me where Rory was, what happened to Rory. And I said, he's in jail. And Tucker's not. I mean, I didn't know what else to tell her. I didn't know what had happened.
And April was Rory's girlfriend?
Yes, the pregnant girlfriend, yes.
And this is when you're getting your stuff to go to Big Pine?
Yes.
The raid has already happened?
Yes.
Wilson's not there?
No.
Is Tucker there?
Yes.
And you asked Tucker how he's there and Wilson isn't?
I wasn't concerned with that, no.
All right. And when you heard about the raid, what was your reaction to that?
I got to get out of here. And it was one of dire need to leave, to flee.
To get out of that location?
Yes.
Were you worried about them tracking down to you?
Yes.
So you take off for Big Pine, is that right?
Yes.
And you get to Big Pine, you use your truck to get there?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do when you get to Big Pine?
I unloaded my truck into the house so that I could do personal inventory of all my belongings that hopefully I had retrieved from the apartment.
And you're back at the house. You said you unloaded everything. Were you by yourself or was somebody with you?
I was by myself.
Were you feeling relieved?
Yes.
Why?
I had escaped. I was in a safe place as far as I knew, that they didn't know about, that nobody knew anything about. It was just me.
Okay.
So I felt like I had removed myself from the situation.
Did you unpack your truck?
I did.
Into that house?
I did.
And did you start unpacking your things?
I did.
Okay. Did you discover something inside your footlocker?
I did.
All right, let's tell the jury about
Let
that.
me guess, a black
While you were
backpack.
unpacking your things, did you attempt to unpack your footlocker?
I did. I opened my footlocker, and right there on the top of it was the black backpack, the bag that Tucker had emptied onto the table in the dining room the night of the incident.
The bag that you saw him coming out of the treehouse with?
Yes.
The one he was fumbling with?
Yes.
And how did you know it was that bag?
It was that bag.
Okay.
That's, for lack of better words, it was right there. I didn't put it there. I knew it was what it was.
Was it there when you packed your stuff into your trunk?
No.
Do you know how or when it got put in there?
I have no idea.
When you saw it, what was your reaction?
What the fuck? Why is this in my bag? Why is this in my box?
Okay. What'd you do with it?
I panicked and I grabbed it and I looked for the closest thing near me, which was a closet, an air conditioner closet, opened the door and I threw it in, shut the door behind it.
Was it just like a regular clothes closet or?
No, it was an air conditioner closet. It was a mechanical closet.
Like where the air conditioning unit is housed?
Yes.
And you threw it in there?
Yes.
Out of sight, out of mind?
Yes.
Were you concerned that that was in your footlocker?
Yes.
And did you continue unpacking everything else?
I did.
Now, how long were you up there? At some point while you were up at Big Pine, did you receive a phone call from the police?
I did. I received a phone call from Miss Penny Phelps informing me that they had some information and possibly some stolen property of mine from my police report on my truck. And also that there were detectives that wanted to take some video and some pictures of my truck and issue me the formal report for my insurance.
And did they indicate to you that they had some things from your truck?
Yes.
Were you excited to receive that call?
Yes, I was.
Why?
I wanted, number one, I wanted the police report for my insurance purposes. And number two, I was hoping they found some of my tools. I don't buy cheap tools.
And you had just taken on a new job, right?
Yes.
Were you going to need those tools?
It would have been nice to have them, yes.
Did you make arrangements or did the police make arrangements with you about how you should all meet up to talk about what they had?
Yes, they wanted to come to me. They wanted to come to where I was. And number one, I didn't really want to be driving around blatantly with them knowing that my driver's license was suspended. So, I mean, yes, I was driving, but I don't want to be in front of a cop. Yeah, I got a suspended driver's license. Let me just drive where you guys are. So no, they came to where I was and did their investigation on my truck.
Travis, how long were you in Big Pine before the police came out there to pick you or to talk to you about your truck?
Not even 2 hours.
So the same day you arrived?
Yeah. Yes.
Hadn't even spent a night there yet?
No.
Had you unpacked that Foot Locker already?
Yes.
Had you hidden that bag in that
Yes.
air conditioning closet?
Yes.
Did the police come out?
Yes.
They photographed your truck?
They did.
At some point, did they ask you to come down to the station with them?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of that?
To identify stolen property.
And did you agree to go?
I did.
And how'd you get to the station?
They drove me.
Okay. All right, so they drove you down to the police station, is that right?
Yes.
And do they, at that point, is your truck completely unloaded?
Yes.
You don't have anything else in the back end of it?
I don't have anything in it.
Okay, so you unloaded all your stuff?
Yes.
All right, and you get down to the police station, they bring you in?
Yes.
Did they ever show you the items that they wanted you to look at that they thought might be from your truck?
Yes, they did.
And what was it?
It was nothing of mine.
Nothing of yours?
No, it was not. Nothing belonged to me at all.
Did you tell them there was none of your stuff?
Yes, I did.
Okay, were you annoyed?
I was very annoyed.
Why?
Because I had made a specific list of items that I was missing, and none of these items were even remotely what I had described. So yes, I was frustrated. I felt like my time was being wasted.
Fair enough. Did they, after you said that wasn't your stuff, did they drive you back to Big Pine?
No, they did not.
What happened next?
I was brought into a room for questioning.
About what?
About the September 17th, or the November 17th incident at the Treehouse.
And they started questioning you about it?
Yes, sir, they did.
All right.
Mr. Mansfield, I think this would be a good time to take a morning break. No problem. Just seems to me it's a logical break.
Okay.
About time to give the jurors and everyone a break. So we're going to take our morning break. This is one of those where you don't have to stay in the jury room. Just follow the usual procedures and instructions. Let's be back at 10:45 and we'll pick up with the continued examination of the witness. Stand by.
Yes, sir.
All right, the jurors are gone. We're going to take a 15-minute break. You can take a break also. We have the rule of sequestration of witnesses that's been invoked, so you're not to discuss your testimony with anyone. Any other instructions?
No, Mr. Johnson, if you want to just wait out there, we'll call you back in when we're ready, okay?
All right. Okay, so unless there's something else, we'll be back at 10:45.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, folks. I think we might leave it there for today. I am a tad weary. I was closing my eyes there at the end. So we will take back up the direct examination of the rubbish coming out of John Travis Johnson's mouth. Same time, same place, same back channel. And continue day 4 of our rendezvous with history from January and the first Treehouse murder trial. All right. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for being here. Thank you in chat. Thank you for the replay crew. If you could jump on that like and subscribe button, that would be amazing on your way out. That would really, really help my journey towards monetization. That one. And we shall hopefully have some more. I'm looking forward to the cross-examination, actually. I've forgotten all about it. Night, sweetheart. All right. So stay warm, stay safe, stay healthy. And until next time, I shall bid you adieu.
Covering true crime and police arrest, where the judges rule and the defense rests. Watching courts and trials, criminals at best, where the gavel drops